everyone, how are you doing today? My name is Karina and welcome back to Ready Set Pan. Today we're doing my March update for Use Those Eyeshadows, which is my version of a pan that palette because panning eyeshadows is basically impossible for me. So to get some progress achievement, get to know my collection, I do a Use That Eyeshadow project where I randomize an eyeshadow from a collection, use it 10 times, and then roll it out and move on to something else. I have 3 shadows I'm working at a time, and of course there are still other things that I'm working on eye related. So liquid eyeshadows, potted eyeshadows. I did just finish one in Partners in Cream. Such a milestone. So make sure you check those other channels out because those items, in addition to like a powder eyeshadow, do take up time. So the update this month is still good. I have met my goal, so I can roll something in that is new. I want to do that at least one every month. But the progress on 2 of these palettes was kind of not what I was expecting. So let's just dive into it. We're just going to start off with the eyeshadow that's been in here for 2 months. And I didn't meet my goal on it yet because I was focused on other things. And that, it's a depotted palette now. This is Castle from the Ciate London Royal Edition palette. It was a little beat up in the whole depotting process. This is kept in a palette of a bunch of single shadows that I have, so I try to use this palette when I'm doing my looks. Now this wasn't one that I was focusing on in terms of, I want to get this one done this month, but I only used it once. Was that look today? You bet it was. So that brings me to only 4 uses on this one, meaning 6 left. This will become a priority next month. The palette I was focused on, which has also been in for 2 months, comes to us from this Tarte. This is their Amazonian Clay Eye-Rise eyeshadow palette in Sunrise. What am I trying to do there? So this is the palette here. It's a nice neutral everyday sort of palette. I had rolled in the shade Adore, which is what I use for setting my eyeshadow primer. You will note it is kind of similar in some ways to Castle. It's a little deep to be an eye setting shade, but it's also a little bit too light to be a crease shade on its own. So that's part of the reason I'm struggling with that one a little bit. But this palette here, so I had reached for it 5 times of the last month, and I've reached for an additional 5 times, bringing me to 10 uses in the project. So not a whole lot of use on it. I have used every shade in the palette except for these 2 up here because I just wasn't feeling those particular colors. And then last was my scary eyeshadow. It comes to us from the Anastasia Beverly Hills Norvina Collection Volume 1 palette. And so this was my bold, colorful shade. You may have noticed it in a lot of my looks, which I tend to film a lot on weekends. And that's where I do colors like D4. D4 is, of course, the blue. I have worked on similar kinds of blues in this project previously. This, I've used it all over the lid. And I've paired that with D2. And I've also used this as an outer corner shade. It is a little bit more than I normally do, but it's kind of nice to play with it. But I will admit I'm struggling with this palette a little bit because it is so colorful and it's hard to pick out cohesive looks very easily. So yes, I've been struggling a little bit, but I have managed somehow to use D4 6 times. I know, so I only have 4 more uses to reach to meet my goal on this palette. So that's exciting. All right, time for the fun stuff. We get to roll in a replacement for Tarte Adore. So again, we still have this difficult to use shade because I don't really know how to use it properly, and then a very vibrant blue. So we are going to go into my Pretty Random app. We are all queued up, ready to go. We're going to roll in 1 replacement, and that's going to be number 248. So this is actually going to be exciting because this is a palette I've wanted to play with just so I can get a better idea. I've used it once or twice. It came to me via Box Charm, as most of my eyeshadows do, including all 3 of those over there. We have pulled from Ciate London. Now I have 2 Ciate London shadows. This is their Editor Palette, a New England 18-piece eyeshadow palette. The inside looks like this. And I don't have shade names, but I rolled in shade number 8. And so when I put everything into the spreadsheet, I was counting this way. So shade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So I'm going to be playing with this shade now. That's going to be a little bit difficult, I imagine. Just because it's not like a neutral, everyday kind of shade. It is a little bit more colorful. I think that's going to be really pretty all over the lid. Depending on the look, I can use it as an outer corner shade. I have not used this one. Yeah, definitely have no use on this particular eyeshadow. There's just a couple eyeshadows in here that I have usage on. I think I've used this palette once. So that one there is going to be my new addition. So that's going to be really fun to play with. And a nice kind of spring appropriate, like a cooler day spring appropriate eyeshadow. That's what I'm going to be playing with for the next month. My goals are going to be, and again, I do have some ambitious goals that I do want to set. So I'm going to do a 2-tier system for my goals. Goal number 1, which is going to be the priority, because this is going to be hanging around for 3 months. I got to get this one done. So again, another 6 uses on it. This will be done either as a setting shade or as a crease color mixer type thing. Again, keep in mind with my projects, the way I prefer to use my eyeshadows, I do use a palette holistically, meaning I'm not reaching into a bunch of different shades. I'm not going to put all 3 of these in one look because this is not how I do my eyeshadow. So that's going to be priority number 1. And then if I can, I would like to get the last 4 uses on D4 just to get that dark blue rolled out, and then we can move on to more exciting shadows. But that is everything. So that's going to wrap up today's Use That Eyeshadow update. Let me know all of your thoughts down in the comments below, and I look forward to seeing you guys in my next video very soon. Have a wonderful day.